Anthony Edwards has become a certified superstar in the NBA throughout the past season and has only elevated his play come this season's playoffs. He has drawn comparisons to Michael Jordan due to his aggressive playstyle and mentality. And when Ant was drafted number 1 overall only 4 seasons ago to the Minnesota Timberwolves, they were mid-rebuild with no real direction in sight, and they had a roster that had solid pieces in theory, but had no real chance of really contending, and obviously had ended up with the number 1 overall pick despite having Andrew Wiggins at the time and Karl Anthony Towns. But with Anthony Edwards, this team has improved to the number 2 seed in the entire West in only 4 seasons, and Anthony Edwards has them as one of the top title contenders in the entire league. Anthony Edwards, in only 4 seasons, has developed to a player that is averaging 26, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.1 assists per game on elite shooting efficiencies of 46.1% from the field and 35.7% from the three-point line. And coming into the NBA from Georgia, his biggest weakness that people thought that he would have in the NBA was his three-point shooting. But he has worked really hard at that and has drastically improved as a three-point shooter. And coming into this playoffs, he has struggled a little bit from downtown, but also doesn't take as many threes when he is struggling. He is an elite scorer in the sense that Anthony Edwards will take the right shot at the right time and won't force his shot like other players in the NBA may if they're having a down game. And he's also a player that will defer to his teammates when he's having an off game, when he rarely has an off game, that should be said. But Anthony Edwards is a guy that knows his spots and chooses them wisely. And his three-point ability has increased to the point where he is an above average to average three-point shooter, but his mid-range game is the essence of his scoring ability. And that's why he gets so many direct comparisons to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And when you watch him play, he's always in control of the game and in control of his team's offense. Another thing that has to be said for Anthony Edwards is that he rises to the occasion in the playoffs, even from a young age when he was only in his 2nd season in the NBA with Minnesota. And a lot of young players crumble under the pressure of the playoffs and of the bright lights, even if they've had a really good regular season. But even going back to his 2nd season in the NBA, and now even as a 22-year-old, when most players are still the second option on a team, he has played incredibly well in the playoffs. In his first playoff appearance in his 2nd season in the NBA, he shot 45.5% from the field and 40% from the three-point line, averaging 25 points per game in a series loss, but no one really expected Minnesota to come out of that series. And last year, he played even better in the playoffs. In 5 games in the first round series last season for Minnesota, he shot 48% from the field and 35% from 3 and averaged 31.6 points per game in a playoff series. And you think that the Timberwolves would have won that series, but they just didn't have the depth around Anthony Edwards that you'd want them to have. But he has come into this season and even outshined last season's 31.5 point per game performance in his 3rd season in the playoffs. This year, as the clear-cut main option in Minnesota, he has led them to the number 2 seed in the entire conference, and they won the first round playoff series, sweeping his hero Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns in the first round. And throughout the playoffs so far, as we go into Game 5 against Denver, he's averaging 32.1 points per game on 56% shooting and 44% from the three-point line, as well as 6.5 rebounds and 5.5 assists per game. Anthony Edwards has stepped up his game so much in the playoffs and is actually reminding me of a Jimmy Butler type player who comes through in the playoffs every single year, even though he doesn't put up the craziest numbers in the regular season. And Anthony Edwards deserves a lot of credit for this Timberwolves team playing as well as they have, because with the addition of Ant in 2020, this Timberwolves team has come to realize their full potential. A guy like Karl Anthony Towns had put up good statistics and been one of the best shooting centers in the NBA throughout his first few seasons in the league, but when Anthony Edwards came to the team, Cat has started to play a lot better, and I think that's due to him being the clear-cut second option. And when Cat doesn't have the entire defensive game plan surrounding him, he's much more able to shine, and Anthony Edwards allows him to do that. Ant has played so well in the playoffs and throughout the regular season, leading this Timberwolves team to this point, to a tied series against the defending champs, 2-2. And regardless of how this series ends up, Anthony Edwards is only 22 years old and has all the potential in the world. And I do think that Anthony Edwards has the brightest future of any young player in the entire NBA, and that includes Victor Wembanyama. Anthony Edwards is the next face of the NBA, and I do think that he will, in the next few seasons, lead this Minnesota Timberwolves team to a finals appearance and possibly a championship. Anthony Edwards has impressed me so much throughout this playoff run, and Anthony Edwards has solidified himself as a top 10 player in the entire NBA. And as the older stars phase out of the league, I do think that he will become the next face of the NBA and will be a multiple-time MVP winner throughout his career. Anthony Edwards has all the potential in the world and is still only 22 years old, as I've mentioned before. And to do what he's been doing in the playoffs throughout his age 20, 21, and 22 seasons is absolutely incredible, to have that much poise and confidence in himself and to come through on that confidence. A lot of guys, when they come into the league, they're talking a lot and they have a lot of bark, but when it comes to the playoffs, they don't come through as well as Anthony Edwards has come. And his development has been absolutely incredible throughout the first 4 seasons of his NBA career, going from 19 points a game in his rookie year to 26 points a game in his 4th year. And his shooting efficiencies and leadership have grown immensely as well, and has become one of the top and premier players in the entire league. Let me know where you rank Anthony Edwards in the comments below throughout the entire league, and do you think that Anthony Edwards will win an MVP at some point in his career or win a finals at all with Minnesota? Anyways, God bless you all. I hope you have an amazing day, and let me know what you think of Anthony Edwards in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of May. God bless.